Hi, folks. Welcome. We'll just give it a couple minutes as people are trickling in. Thank you for joining the webinar. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. Just seeing the participants increase a bit, so just giving it a minute. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. Just giving it a minute. All right. Hi, folks. My name is David Gervin. I'm an Associate Director of Admission at Pitzer College. First, congratulations on your acceptance, whether it be from Pitzer or one of my fellow Claremont College schools. We're very excited to be enrolling next year's class for all 5 of the consortium undergraduate schools. With me today is currently 4 panelists. We do have another student that is just running from class that will be joining from Scripps. But in the interest of time, I want to make sure that you get this connection with current students to help learn their perspective on their experience at their respective colleges and within the Claremont Consortium. In founding order, we'll start off with Pomona. For each panelist, do you mind just introducing yourself, letting us know what year you are at your school, any majors or minors, where you're originally coming from, and then any activities that you're involved in at the time at your school. So Angel, do you want to start us off?
If it's a little loud, please let me know. I'm currently in the coop, so it might get a little loud in here. My name is Angel. I am a sophomore from Pomona College, pronounced she, her. I am originally from Vancouver, Canada, so up north and international, technically. I am an international relations major as well as a French minor. And outside of tour guiding, I am Secretary General of our 4C Model United Nations team, the Pomona College Model UN team. I'm also an admissions intern, a tour guide, and I am an international student mentor. Nice to meet everyone.
Great, thank you. CMC next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ava. I'm a sophomore from the Bay Area. I'm a CMC student, but I'm majoring in cognitive science at Pomona with a leadership studies sequence from CMC. On campus, I am CMC sophomore class president. I'm a tour guide, of course. I'm an assistant at one of the 11 research institutes that CMC has, the Kravis Leadership Institute. I'm part of our Advocates for Survivors of Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence organization. I'm Boswell's dorm president, and then I also work in media information technology services.
Great, thank you. Next up, Diana Harvimon.
Perfect, thank you so much. My name is Diana. I'm from Med. I'm a senior. I'm actually a 3-2 major, so I was at Scripps for my first 3 years. Now I'm over at Med Engineering at both. I am a first generation student. I am a BIPOC student. And on campus, you can usually find me either in the civil structures kind of research area or either working with a couple nonprofits that are based out of Scripps. I do apologize for the noise. I was hoping to make it back after work, but I had to pull off and I'm in a park, so let me know if you can't hear me too well.
I can hear you great, thank you. And then Sydney Pitzer.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Sydney. I go to Pitzer. I'm a senior here. I'm majoring in sociology and studio art. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I use she, her pronouns. Outside of being an admissions fellow, I'm really involved in the ceramics department here at the 5Cs. So I've gotten to TA for the ceramics department a couple of times. And I'm really involved in the Pitzer Outdoor Adventure Club, as well as the Prison Abolition Club at Scripps.
Awesome, thank you. So I'll also plug that we have additional admission staff members from each of the colleges that are here to help answer any personalized or specific questions that you have, in addition to the questions that we'll be asking to our panelists here today. So if you do happen to have any questions, certainly utilize the Q&A box within the Zoom room. If there are any specific questions that you're looking to get from one particular school or a couple schools, please include the name of the school at the beginning of your question. That could help our chatters go through your questions as the presentation will be going off. But just starting off, we would love to hear from each of you kind of your academic path. How did you end up to the major that you're at currently? Anyone want to volunteer to go first? Angel, thanks.
So I had a bit more of a traditional path, I'd say. I haven't changed my major that much, actually. When I was applying, my main academic interests were international relations, linguistics, and then I think the third was like a mixture of like philosophy, maybe math, all these. I'm now international relations major. I've kept that. I took intro linguistics, realized that wasn't really for me, decided I should focus on one specific language instead. I've always had like a passion for French and deciding to study abroad next semester in Paris, which is going to be super exciting to me. But yeah, so I like throughout high school, I did a lot of Model UN. So that kind of helped me onto this path. Also just realized that I enjoy, talking a lot about current events, learning about all of that. And then I'm still doing Model UN in college. I'm also very enjoying that. Moved a little bit away from traditional like General Assembly Model UN, doing more crisis type things, if anyone here knows what that means. So more kind of like fictional, like fast-paced thinking. But yeah, that's kind of how I am on this path. Just have been on it since high school. I'm still exploring it, but I'm also exploring other things such as Arabic and other languages, and hoping to take some philosophy classes in the future.
Great, thank you. Other panelists. Diana, yes.
Yeah, so when I came into, I know Scripps isn't here, so I'll talk a little bit about Scripps. When I came on to Scripps, I came in as an engineering major. High school, I was very STEM oriented, and I knew I wanted to do something very STEM oriented. But I had more of an unconventional path. I actually formally changed my major 9 times. So I was a hoot at the registrar's office, and I actually ended up graduating with an engineering degree. And I think it's just trying to find your path, even when you know what you want to do, like kind of having to maneuver that, and just keeping in mind what the end goal is. Why I continued to pursue engineering at Med, I think it was very much like I wanted something that was tech specific but society oriented, and that's something that the 5 Cs and Med offers really well.
Great, thank you, Diana. And I see we do have Eleanor that has joined the session. So Eleanor, I know you probably just rushed in, but if you don't mind just introducing yourself, letting us know where you're originally from, any majors, as well as your year at Scripps.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, everyone, to be late. Caught up with something strange. Anyways, yes, I am originally from Los Alamos, New Mexico. I am a 3rd year at Scripps, and I'm dual majoring in philosophy and media studies. And sorry, was there another thing?
Any activities that you're involved in as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm involved in tons of stuff here. At Scripps, I'm an editor at our 5C satire paper, the Golden Antlers. And I'm also a singer in a rock band. And off campus, I do a lot of like media studies, Hollywood type stuff. So I do that as well.
Great, thank you, Eleanor. And while we have you, Eleanor, do you mind just kind of explaining a little bit about your academic journey during your time at Scripps?
Of course, yeah. Like my journey sort of to Scripps or like while here.
Your major.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I came into Scripps thinking that I wanted to major in anthropology. And then what Scripps does is we have something called the core program, and it's 3 semesters. And during core 1, what happens is you kind of like do a different themed major each week. You hear a lecture from a visiting professor in the core program, and you hear about their subject area. And so, yeah, I showed up thinking I wanted to do anthropology. Then we got to anthropology week in core, and I did not want to do anthropology. And so, since I actually joined, or I was accepted to Scripps during COVID, we had some Zoom get to know the department things, and I on a whim took a philosophy one, thought it seemed really cool, took the intro class, also thought it was really cool. And then by my 2nd semester after core 2, I did a philosophy themed core. I was like, yeah, okay, so I want to major in that. And then media studies was something that it may have already been talked about in this college back, but it's very popular here at the 5Cs. A lot of people in media studies, and I always loved TP. And so it was always kind of clear to me that, okay, 5Cs offer media studies, I want to talk about TV a lot. That was my journey there.
Awesome, thank you. Ava, do you mind going through your kind of academic journey?
Of course. So I came into CMC undecided. I had always had really a love for psychology in high school, but once I got here, I was swayed by a large majority of people who are pursuing economics and government. And so I thought to myself, maybe I'll be an economics major. I've never liked math, but maybe I'll be an economics major. And I had a really interesting agricultural economics experience over the summer. And then I got back to campus and I took intermediate microeconomics. And I said, this is not for me. I dropped it. And through CMC's GE program, we take about 8 to 10 GEs depending on your field of study. I found that I really, really enjoyed philosophy. I really enjoyed neurobiology. And one of my friends was majoring in cognitive science at Pomona. And he said, you know what, I think you'd really like this program. And so now the program that I'm in allows me to design a concentration around one of 5 interdisciplinary subjects. And then I also get to do a leadership study sequence at Pomona. So I credit a lot of my friends and also our incredible registrar for helping me figure out my major path.
Great, awesome, thank you. And Sydney.
Yeah, hi. So I came to Pitzer thinking that I was going to do political studies and political science sort of things. And after taking a bunch of different classes from a bunch of different fields, and then also meeting my suite mate's mom, who is a doula, which for those of you who are unfamiliar, it's sort of like a birthing coach. I discovered that I was really interested in women's health, maternal health, and birth work. So I started taking a lot of medical sociology classes and realized that I was really interested in just healthcare and which communities receive healthcare and sort of what this looks like. So I sort of started to pursue this more medical sociology type major as well. And then as far as my studio art side, I sort of always knew I wanted to do that and got really involved in the ceramics department. And I am actually painting a mural on Pitzer's campus right now. So the art department here has been fabulous as well.
Great, thank you all. As you can see, everyone has different academic paths, from knowing exactly what they want to major in to maybe changing their major 9 times. It's all possible within the consortium due to the accessibility. So I'd love to hear from maybe a couple of you about the accessibility of professors, both on your campus and on the other campuses. Have you taken advantage of courses and curriculum outside of your own college? Has that helped your path? Kind of talk about the benefits of the consortium when it comes to those aspects and relationships with professors. Anyone want to volunteer? Yes, Ava.
I can start. I think at CMC, at least, like our intellectual community is really strong. The smallest class that I've ever taken was around 10 people. And the first homework assignment I ever got was to go to office hours with my professor. Not that he really needed to learn anybody's names because the class was already small, but he just wanted to figure out who we were outside of class, and then also get to know us in other facets of our life and our identity. And I found that office hours are a big part of the intellectual culture at CMC, as well as chatting with professors at AFT, which is like a snack time that our speaker series organization puts on every Monday through Friday. And then at the 5 Cs as well, part of my major is taking classes at all of the 5 Cs before I graduate. And those professors have been just as kind and welcoming as CMC professors have. I met one of my professors in linguistics, and by the end of our meeting, she agreed to be my advisor for my major, which was really kind of her. She didn't really need to do that, but I've had nothing but positive experiences with professors so far.
Yes, Angel, thank you.
I can add on to that. So I've had a lot of very similar experiences, I'd say. I've only taken classes at Pomona and CMC. I'm currently taking Arabic at CMC because Arabic and Korean, I believe, are only offered at CMC. My Arabic professor, he's one of my favorite people, period. During like the first semester of our classes, because it's like a full year kind of course, there's a split into 2 semesters. But during the first week, he was like, I want to schedule office hours with every single person. I was in his office for like an hour just talking about like, motivations for taking Arabic, also like, what I like to do outside of class. What is my life back home like? He talked about his life, how like, he came from like Syria and Palestine to here and like, his whole story. And it was really great to get to know professors like in a very intimate setting like that. At Pomona, it's been the same thing. Like I have office hours with my professors very regularly. my IR professor, I was even talking to him today for like feedback and all that. And he's like, I can just like give you a call when you're ready, and then I can like give you that feedback, or we can like, you know, meet in my office, all that. Professors here are just so accessible. My smallest class has been 7 people. Professors here know your names, like they know who you are. They're reading your work. They're the ones giving you feedback. And a lot of these professors are like published, right? And it's like so great kind of seeing that passion translate into their teaching and their coursework. They're not just giving a lecture and speaking at you for 45 minutes, right? They're really like discussing with you, wanting to hear your ideas. They want to like, my Arabic professor is always saying like, you know, if you want to open this can of worms, come, like we'll get a like drink some strong coffee and discuss it. He's like, you know, if you guys want to come to my house, I'll make hummus for you guys, right? And it's like a really just wonderful academic community. Pomona, especially, I've also found this one super collaborative in the classroom. It's like students are always willing to share their like homework, their problem sets, their like essay ideas, you know, really willing to discuss like, oh, I have some resources here or sources that I think would really help with your paper, you know. And it's not like cutthroat or anything like that. I think here I feel very comfortable in the classroom, very like welcomed, and also very open and wanting to share my ideas intellectually.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we are getting some questions about internship and research opportunities. For anyone that wants to jump in, how would you talk about the support for those? What experiences and maybe have you already partaken in? What does experiential learning look like for students within the 5 Cs, whether at your college specifically, or maybe some that you've taken advantage of others? Yes, Sydney.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to talk about with students that I'm interviewing, and when they have questions about internships and stuff. I think that the best advice that I can always give is to take a class from like a bunch of different fields and really find a professor whose work really resonates with you, and then ask them what sort of opportunities in their research you can sort of get involved with. I think once you have a mutual passion with a professor here, they are like willing to like help so much in helping you find an internship. So obviously we have career services and things like this too, but once you find a professor that you really resonate with, I definitely recommend going that route to find an internship. I have a really great professor that I've taken about like 3 classes with so far, and she helped me find a really great apprenticeship a couple summers ago with a midwife. So I got to attend prenatal appointments and go to births, and also postpartum appointments as well. And I never would have even thought I was able to do this until connecting with this professor and sort of sharing our passion for birth work. And then she was able to connect me into this field. So I definitely recommend that.
Awesome. Yeah, Eleanor.
Yeah, to sort of present a very different side of internships and that sort of thing. I do media studies, as I mentioned, and so it's, as its reputation kind of precedes it with the industry, like getting jobs is sort of connection based, and unfortunately there's not like that path that everyone loves to have. But I wanted to speak a little bit to Scripps and especially the 5 Cs, like incredible way to help you get connections. So similar to what Sydney was just saying about taking classes based on your passion, I was in this philosophy of film class last semester. It was based out of Pomona, but we would have these guest speakers come in that the professor was just friends with because that's her field and that's the people she knows, like living in LA, but also working in media. And I just, because it was a really small class, maybe like 12 people, it was this really intimate Q&A session that we got to have with them. And after class, I just like went up to the guest speakers to be like, oh, hey, I was wondering if you had any advice for like how to get your foot in the door in the industry. And they were like, we have a job for you. And for me, that was such like a classic like 5C moment. Just kind of meeting people and getting to be friends with other cool people. And I ended up working as a production assistant on this comedy short film. And now I have like friends in the industry who I've like are helping me get other jobs. And so that sort of opportunity is incredibly accessible here at the 5Cs just because it's so small but well connected.
So I think that brings up a great point of our proximity to Los Angeles and our location in Southern California. So it's a little bit more of a fun question for the panel. What is your favorite thing to do in either Claremont, the Southern California area, Los Angeles? How do you take advantage of Southern California? As we have many students from various different time zones, even internationally, attending this, what would you say to someone that might be a little bit more scared or apprehensive of the transition? How is California like, even though it's better? I want to start us off. Yeah, Angel, thank you. And then
I'll start by saying California is a lot colder than you expect it to be. Bring a jacket, 100%. I made that mistake first semester, first year. I honestly made that mistake again last semester. I always think it's going to be warmer than it actually is. At a certain point, once the sun goes down, it's cold. But I'd say our proximity to LA is it's such a blessing in a way, because we get this like college campus experience, right? We get this like these we are on college campuses, it's more suburban, but we have such close it's very convenient to get to and from LA. We have the Metrolink. It's just an hour train ride to and from LA. Over the summer last year, I did an internship in LA, and it was at Pomona. We have this internship program called the Pomona College Internship Program, PSIP, that essentially provides a stipend for low paid or unpaid internships. And a lot of those internships, I think, are based out of LA. And so my proximity to that definitely helped a lot. This summer, I'm also doing another internship in LA. Love LA. But in terms of kind of the city and just our location, I think you really do get the best of both worlds. You get access to the connections and the resources of Los Angeles. You can also go sightseeing, go to the beach, go see friends at the other, like the bigger schools, USC, UCLA, my best friend USC, UCLA. So it's also always nice to be able to kind of get out of Claremont, go into the city. But at the same time, you get to really bond with what our campuses are like in the 5C community, just by virtue of being here. Yeah, that's
awesome. Thank you. Yes, Ava.
This weekend, actually, I'm heading to the beach with some of my friends to celebrate one of our friends' birthdays. And we're passing by the California Super Bloom, which is a phenomenon that's happening currently across a couple of counties in Los Angeles. Just all the wildflowers in bloom and in season. And I really like going to the beach. Like Angel said, it's really easy to get to LA. The Metrolink does have discounted price for students, which is nice. And then also I go to Mount Baldy quite frequently, which is maybe 10 to 20 minutes away, depending where you're coming from. I enjoy going to Mount Baldy just to watch the sunset, to have a picnic with my friends, just to de-stress. And CMC also provides transportation for those who don't have cars, which most of us don't, I'm going to say. And that's very kind of them.
Yes, Diana.
Yeah, born and raised in Southern California, so I am a little biased. My little tour speech is that we're an hour from the beach, an hour from the desert, an hour from the city, an hour from the mountains. You really can do it all. I often find myself being like, I love Claremont and I love the little bubble and I love the community, but I know that I'm a quick 45-minute drive down to the beach and I can study there. And I know it's a little more uncommon to maybe drive out to Joshua Tree, but it is an hour and 15. And I know a lot of my friends and I will go ahead and we'll do a lot of camping. We'll do a lot of outdoors activities. So it is really pretty. I love Claremont. I love Southern California. And it is just so beautiful to be able to find peace in that.
Yes, and seeing from the chat box, I think one of students' favorite events that many of the colleges do is called Ski Beach Day, because you can do that in Southern California. You can ski and be at the beach all on the same day. So thank you for sharing all that. So kind of switching gears, we're getting a lot of questions about how to describe the dynamic between students across the 5 colleges. Certainly each, I think we all know that sometimes there's stereotypes that might be placed upon a certain Claremont school, but I like to think of it as maybe common traits or values. So I'd love to hear from anyone that wants to, maybe Eleanor or Sydney, kind of chime in. How do you describe the differences across the campuses, as well as how it feels to be in your own home base? Yeah, Eleanor.
I would literally love to talk about this because as a satire paper writer, this is our trade. We swap jokes about these reputations and stereotypes all the time. Definitely there is like a kernel of truth. I mean, this is about to be an unsurprising take about stereotype jokes, but there's certainly a kernel of truth in all of the 5C stereotypes. Should I give them for should I say what they are or no?
If you would like to, but I definitely think that I always stress that stereotypes, like I said, kernel of truth, but not always the case for students.
Then we'll let them be a surprise. But what I found my favorite thing about sort of the difference between the stereotypes and the difference between the campuses is that this 5C admins and like acceptance boards do such a phenomenal job of like essentially sorting all of us. It's such a blast to kind of meet people from the other 5Cs and laugh about your differences. Like, for example, let's see. I think that I don't want to give a stereotype then, but just kidding. In any case, but like my favorite thing to joke about with my friends is our differences, but then kind of seeing the ways that we all come together and can relate about other things about other 5Cs, making jokes about the other 5Cs, or finding more common artsy things, or learning how our differences amongst each other can help us like solve new problems together. That sounds really corny, but the bottom line is that it's a really fun vibe to have all these different sorts of people all in one place, all like bringing a very different vibe to the classroom. And it's also very fun to go across the different campuses and try out the different pedagogical styles. I found at Pomona, they really like to dive deep into the text and say like, what is the author saying? At Scripps, my home base, I feel like we really branch outwards instead of going sort of deep. We kind of feel like, all right, like because we're a school that was really founded to be about women and like what do women have to say? It's very much like students, what do you have to say? What ideas can we go off of that? Those were some fun differences that I've noticed, but I love being in a place that's so many different places at once.
Awesome. So kind of in relation to that, Sydney, I'd love to hear your kind of your perspective. Like, do students feel different as for example, a Pitzer student taking a class at one of the other schools? Do you feel like there's any kind of barriers across the campuses, or does it truly feel like one big consortium?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's important to note that this consortium is very intentional. It was made to be very collaborative, and it was made to like build off of each other. So all the students feel like a part of one school almost. I always like to share a little anecdote from when I was touring schools, that my dad always said that you can always make a big school feel small, and like sort of find your niche, but you can't really make a small school feel big. But I feel like the Claremont colleges are the perfect like loophole to this, because you always have like sort of your home base to come back to, and your sort of like little insular community. But then at the end of the day, like you're like going to classes across campus and talking to students with a million different perspectives. And it really is meant to be this way. You're never going to be like the only person from your home institution that's like doing this new adventure or anything. It's everybody's sort of in it together, and everybody's wanting to learn from each other and create a really great collaborative environment. Sort of on the more logistics side, registering for classes is super easy. Basically, when you sign up for classes, it'll all be on the same portal. So Pitzer students and Scripps and Pomona, Harvey Mudd, and CMC alike are all registering at the same time. And you can see all of the options from all of the schools in the same place, which makes it really easy too.
So in relation to that point, is it easy to get classes you want if you don't attend a specific college?
Do you want me to answer that, or somebody else?
Said you were already on the topic.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So basically, the system is built off of seniority. So all of the seniors from all of the schools are going to pick first, and then juniors and sophomores, and then first years. So kind of how I like to explain it is that like a Pitzer senior might have priority over a CMC class over a CMC freshman, if that makes sense. So it's not like you have first choice at your home institutions. It's sort of everybody signing up for the same sort of things. That being said, sometimes there will be a select few classes like at Harvey Mudd that are like very specific STEM-based classes that might not be open to all students, or very specific business classes at CMC, for example, too. But for the most part, it's really open to everyone, and it's just a few exceptions like that.
Awesome, thank you. So we're getting some questions, and I'd love to hear perspective on anyone that'd like to answer this one. Is definitely when it comes to student support systems, very important to colleges, especially when students are coming from various backgrounds, identities, internationally. How do you feel supported, or how do you feel the colleges support students when it comes to mental, social, and physical health? Anyone that wants to volunteer to answer that one? Yes, Angel.
Sorry, I totally just blurred my camera. It's so dirty. But as an international student and also as an Asian student in first gen, I found quite a lot of support on campus. There's a lot of resources for affinity groups. There's an international student mentorship program, which I'm a mentor for. We start off by hosting like international orientation for students before all the domestic students come. So there's already like that transition period to kind of get students situated here in Claremont, the US. For some students, it's their first time here, right? And we also do some 5C international kind of bonding events too. As well, there's a 7C international kind of advisory board, and they organize events throughout the year during spring break, Thanksgiving, fall break. A lot of times when a lot of international students are left on campus. As well, academically, there's a lot of support too. Pomona has the mentor program. I'm sure a lot of the other schools do too, but essentially like for problem sets and for most of the quantitative classes, you have mentor sessions each week. So these are essentially peer tutors for your specific subject, for that specific class, for those problem sets that will help you kind of explain the concepts, walk you through the problems, and that kind of reinforces that collaborative academic community too. There's also like the quantitative skills center, there's like the reading writing center, but there's like a lot of resources both academically and in terms of like your identity, I think, that have really helped me at least transition to Pomona and the 5Cs. And also like across the 5Cs, there's a really nice community. I'd say like just a lot of extracurricular events to be able to get to know other students. Like I said, the Model UN team, it's a 4C team. Most of my close friends from the other colleges are through Model UN. And I found a very nice, tight community through that. And also in terms of mental health, there are definitely areas to be improved at Monsoor. Through that, I've been able to get off-campus therapy and be reimbursed for that too. So essentially my insurance covers it and I don't have to pay anything for therapy. And I've been doing it for over like a year, right? Which is something that I definitely did not have access to before. So for me, at least, there's been a lot of resources that has really helped me transition and feel very comfortable and at home here.
Awesome, thank you so much, Angel. Anyone else that wants to talk about any support systems, affinity group organizations, anything you feel really helps support students on campus? Yeah, Ava and then Eleanor.
Awesome. I would second a lot of what Angel just said. I think that CMC and then by extension, the 5Cs do a really great job of providing support when students ask for it. Something that I say to a lot of prospective students or friends is, you know, sometimes in my classes, which are rigorous and challenging, I feel a little lost. I feel like I don't know a lot about the subject, but I never feel helpless. Like CMC and the 5Cs always have some sort of organization, resource, or mentorship program that I can use in order to advance either my progress in my academics or supplement my well-being and my health. CMC has a variety of programs around mentorship, most especially in affinity groups. This is like identity-based organizations for anybody who doesn't know the term. And then, you know, Angel mentioned mental health, and we do have a variety of programs around mental health, both around art therapy and emotional well-being. Our college programming board takes students on trips to get off campus that are substance-free. And then we also have the QCL, the CWPD, which is the Quantitative Computing Lab, and then the Center for Writing and Public Discourse that helps us out with our academics, math, and then literature, respectively. And last but not least, I'm going to say that as soon as you arrive on campus as a first year, you're paired in a group, and I'm sure the other colleges have this as well, but you're paired in a group of about 20 to 25 other first years. And then you have 3 to 4 other upperclassmen, first year guides, or as CMCers call them, FIGs. And that group stays with you throughout the entire year to supplement your well-being and your academic progress, really anything you need at CMC. And at the beginning of the semester, before you enter into academics, you go on like a 2-day, 3-day adventure which is called WOA, Welcome Orientation Adventure, to either the mountains or the beach, and you bond with your fellow first years, so you know at least a couple of people and have a couple friends before you start.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, Eleanor, anything else to add?
Yeah, just briefly, I just wanted to add, in addition to all the really amazing institutional support that all the 5Cs have in terms of community and supporting mental health, is that there's just something really remarkable about the people in the 5C community, both like professors and students. Essentially every professor I've had, I really feel like I would feel comfortable reaching out to them if something was going wrong. Anytime I've been struggling with mental health and needed like a homework break or anything else, like I've reached out and they've been only too kind. Like it's always emails like, oh my goodness, yes, like take care of you, like that sort of thing. And they're all just very like open door office, easy to have a conversation and chat about your life kind of vibe that isn't really available at maybe a bigger school or a school with a different sort of vibe. It's a very like personal relationship. And as for the students, this is something that I have almost forgotten exists here because I kind of take it for granted now. But I remember first arriving on campus, like every single person I met here, I was like, this is the nicest person I've ever met. Just really profoundly kind individuals go to this school, and it's easy to find, you're going to find friends. And if for some weird reason you don't have friends and you're struggling, you could talk to pretty much any stranger and they'd be really happy to help you out.
Thank you. So we have a lot of questions. So switching gears to a little bit more student life aspects is a question of how involved are students in various events? Are sport events well attended? Do students participate in clubs, etc.? I know we have over 250 clubs and organizations across the consortium. So I'd love to hear from each of you, maybe a favorite event or a club that you either have attended an event or a favorite club that you're a part of, and how that relates to how you feel students are involved on campus. So maybe let's do reverse founding order. If Sydney, you want to start us off.
Yeah, sure. So I know people touched on this a little bit before about just like being close to Los Angeles and things, but my favorite club that I've been involved in so far is Pitzer Outdoor Adventure, which is a pretty 5C wide club. And I just feel like this has been like the greatest community. There's so many students at Pitzer and at the 5Cs in general that are wanting to get outside and are wanting to make the most of where they go to school, and POA, and I'm sure subsequent groups at the other colleges. I know the 5C wide one is called On the Loose, I believe. Just makes getting outside really, really accessible and meeting other people who also want to get outside, whether you're wanting to do a simple beach day with your friends and hang out and relax in the outdoors, or if you're wanting to do like a week-long backpacking trip for spring break. There's always ways to meet other people that are wanting to do the same sorts of things. And I think just having these really established clubs with pretty significant funding are just really great ways to build community. And yeah, that's been something that I've really, really enjoyed my past 4 years here.
Awesome, thank you. Diana.
Yeah, I think in terms of clubs, I would more or less talk about affinity-based clubs. We do have campus-specific clubs as well as 7C clubs, so it's a great way to kind of be able to kind of meet people on your own campus and branch out a consortium-wide. And that essence, in terms of events, I have to kind of reiterate what everyone's been saying. The outdoor clubs are really something that I take fondly to. I go overlanding a lot. Joshua Tree talked a little bit about that, and I love to go out with other students who kind of just want to hang out and mingle and kind of experience the same kind of things. Clubs and everything are very open to all campuses. So I know at that we do have the MARC, which is going to be our rocketry club, and we do have a lot of underwater robot programs that is open consortium wide. So don't ever feel like, oh, this is at this college, I can't get there, or this is over here. We're very open, and it's really easy to kind of dip your toes and fingers into anything you'd like to do.
Awesome. Ava, do you want to talk about some clubs or events that you're involved in or you enjoy?
Yes, this was a difficult one because I feel like I first off attend a lot of events that a lot of friends and then also clubs put on at CMC. But I think I'd have to say my favorite is, I mentioned CPB earlier. They do a lot of annual trips, like the Disneyland trip. They take students to Disneyland for free. And as you can imagine, it is quite a competitive trip to get onto. They also do a hot air balloon trip that is usually really fun. I'm gonna say though, intramurals also are my favorite institution or activity that CMC does. I think a lot of people participate in intramurals because, you know, they don't have as much experience as other people do in the sport, but they have no shortage of energy and competition for it. I'm actually competing in a 5-on-5 basketball game later today. And we talked the big talk last week and we got smoked, everyone. Like, I'm saying it now and I'm putting it out there. It was bad, but we're gonna come back, and I've made so many wonderful, wonderful friends in intramurals. Like, it has absolutely been a highlight because not only can you form teams with your friends or clubs that you're in, you can also enter as a free agent into any team. And so then you have a new friend join and you get to make more connections across the 5 seats.
Awesome. I'm also partial to inner tube water polo. I know students really enjoy that intramural as well, seeing lots of head nods. Eleanor, do you mind just talking about maybe a favorite event and kind of the student life aspect?
Definitely. Man, okay, I'm torn because I do like 2 things and I do them like equally. As I mentioned, I'm in a band and I also do the satire paper. But as far as events go, I guess I'll go with band gigs and concerts and shows and that sort of thing at the 5Cs. So as you've a vibe that I'm sure you've gotten by now, like 5Cs are a small community that can feel big. And so very much in the spirit of that, there are lots of little like party things on the weekends that like everyone can come to, but so it feels big in that way that everyone comes, but it's small enough that like everyone's always looking for live music. And so there are tons of like gig opportunities for my band and all the bands on campus. And as my like personal mission that I'm just pushing in all my admissions activities, I'm trying to grow the 5C band scene. So this is my PSA, come to campus and make a band. There will be a lot of gig opportunities for you to play. And also there will be a lot of parties for you to attend and hear other live music and cool bands play. It's a really like fun and distinct vibe from just like a DJ playing or just someone's speaker. And it's something that I've been noticing like happens more and more as there are more bands at the 5Cs. There's just like, it's a very spirited and live environment. And so anytime there's a party or anytime there's something that the music coalition here at the 5Cs, it's called the Pomona's Musician Collective, but everyone's allowed to join. We throw events and random people will throw events, and it just makes the whole like nightlife scene full of fun things to do and a very open place to attend.
Awesome. And I would love if a band of admitted students just started to create after this event. Angel, what about you? What a favorite event?
Yeah. First I want to bump what Ava was saying about intramurals. I am not a quitter, but I did quit after intramural dodgeball after we got our asses kicked. After the first game, we showed up and it was like all the track kids. It was like my suite. We walked in, we're like, oh no, and we lost so badly. And I was like, okay, that's it for me. But for me, like I said, I'm part of our Model United Nations team, which is a 4C team. So it's all the schools except for CMC. CMC has their own team. They're great. We also host a lot of joint events with them and joint trainings. But it's a great community because you get to meet students from the other schools, right? That's how I've gotten really close to the other students. And it really is open to students from across the 5Cs. We have Harvey Mudd students, Pitzer, Scripps. Most of our students are from Pomona, but we're trying to increase the numbers from the other schools. And all like travel accommodations, all of that is paid for by the school. Our food is reimbursed and we get to travel a lot. I just came back from Chicago this weekend, actually, from UChicago's conference. We're ranked top 25 in the country. So it is like, no, not almost top 25. We're top 50. CMC is really good though. But it's a great community because we get to meet people and also we get to kind of practice our public speaking skills, quick thinking, critical analysis, all that debate. And we get to travel on the school's credit card. Like, who doesn't love that? But it is like a nice chance for me to at least get off the kind of Claremont LA scene and to kind of go elsewhere, meet other students on the circuit. So I've made a lot of friends from like the West Coast schools, UCB, UCLA, USC, through Model UN. And it's also really cool because the more you do MUN, the more you're on the circuit, the more you get to like, you recognize people, you start going out with them too. So it's like a great community and it's just a great time overall. And it's a really wonderful resource that Pomona and the 5Cs offers. And the fact that most of the kind of expenses are reimbursed by the school is amazing. I know a lot of schools don't necessarily do that. And we really prioritize accessibility to an activity that is traditionally very elitist and very expensive. So that is a great club. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Would love to talk.
Awesome. So we are seeing a lot of questions relating of what goes on in the Claremont Village. Are there plenty of fun things to do in the surrounding areas of the 5Cs? That anyone like to talk about how it is living in Claremont? Yeah, Sydney.
Yeah, living in Claremont is great. And for all of you that have visited, I'm sure that you've stopped by the village. That's kind of like the go-to answer that I think of to like talk about what there is to do just like on the weekends and things. There's always a farmer's market there. And I think it was Ava earlier that mentioned going up to Mount Baldy. That's a really popular sort of like weekday or weekend activities to go up there and watch the sunset. But there's also just so much of an art scene around here. There's a lot of like music venues and art museums and all sorts of stuff going on around here, like within like a 20-minute drive. And then sort of like connecting into the Los Angeles area, but it's a lot more local as well. And I think the more time you spend looking and things like that, you can just find so many different food markets and flea markets and all sorts of stuff really close to here. So that's definitely sort of like what I'll tend to do more so on the weekends, especially like in your first year when you're wanting to stay more around here and learn more of the area. But there's also just so many things to learn about and do on campus. For example, we have a location on Pomona's campus, I believe it's called The Hive, and it's basically like a makerspace. There's also the makerspace at Harvey Mudd, which is basically just like a huge like crafting and making center for different students. There's a bunch of different sewing machines. There's like 3D printers and a welding workshop as well. So there's a ton of stuff to get to know on campus as well as sort of the surrounding areas as well.
So in relation to thinking of off-campus restaurants and things, a question we've gotten is, how's the food on your campus? How would you describe the college food, either at yours or the fact that we have 17 different eateries across the consortium? Anyone want to talk about food on the campuses? Yeah, Eleanor, and then Diana.
I would like to start by bragging about the line that stretches out the door every day from Malat at Scripps. So Malat is the Scripps dining hall, and it's very popular, especially at lunch. It's like bustling at lunch. Every dining hall at the 5Cs kind of has like, oh, this is the good dining hall to go to for this meal, which makes a very fun dynamic. But at least at Scripps, we've got like acai bowls at Malat and really fun taco nights. And the building itself used to be a museum. And so it's this like very beautiful, lovely space to eat, very much in the Scripps spirit, just a like lovely place to hang out. And so extremely delicious food at Malat. The other really fun thing about like snacking at Scripps, we have this coffee shop called the Motley, which maybe you've heard about, hopefully you've heard about. It's a very popular place. It's student run coffee house. So like students are making your coffee in the front, but they're also like ordering the stock, making sure they're locally ordering from like local companies, stocking the right coffee beans, that sort of thing. And so if you're like interested in business experience, the Motley is an incredible way to get that firsthand with some like support from the institution, from Scripps. But even if you're not working at the Motley, I am there all the time. It's the greatest place to hang out. They have really fun drinks with like fun names like Matcha Chacha, and they do themed shifts. So like the baristas will all dress up like SpongeBob characters or that sort of thing. And so it's just this like beautiful campus space and a really fun place to see your friends from all around the 5Cs because everyone likes to go there. So it's really fun.
Great. And then Diana, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add that when I was on campus as a frosh, we called it the 5C Cuisine Challenge, where we would try to hit up a different dining hall for each meal, a different grab and go, a different coffee shop. So there's definitely a bunch of options for whatever you're looking for. I will also plug the Hawk at Mudd, just because you've never known good rice till you've gone to the Hawk. truly is the greatest rice on campus. And then just all the little fun, quirky kind of places. I know Eleanor touched on the Motley. Over at Bud, we have Muttbucks. We have the Pit Stop over at Pitzer. So there's just like a lot of different places that you can go and connect with friends and kind of just figure out what your vibe is, figure out what you're looking for, and you'll find a community there.
Great, thank you. So a question in various different ways that a lot of students are curious about is about how students handle their workload as well as their sleep balance. So how, in more or less, how would you describe the average workload of a student within the consortium? Anyone that wants to? Yeah, Angel.
For me, at least, definitely, it's kind of like, it kind of comes in waves, I would say. The one class I've had that has like a consistent workload for me, it's been Arabic, because that's like a new language. Usually the language classes, there is like a heavier workload just because that's what it takes to learn a new language. But I would say in terms of workload, it's definitely manageable. It just depends on, a lot of it depends on you. Again, you're in college, right? It's your own schedule that you're creating. You're deciding what you're doing outside of class time, when you're studying, where you're studying, with who you're studying, how you're studying. Sometimes I definitely don't make the smartest decisions when it comes to studying, but it's like, it's not necessarily something I can attribute to other things, unless I'm like traveling for Model UN conferences or things like that. But I will say, like, definitely manageable. It's a lot of like, depending on my classes, papers, presentations, especially for the language classes right this year. I have like an Arabic presentation and a French presentation. For IR, I also had a presentation. It was like, we did these mini trials, which is pretty cool. And then for one other class, it's usually like papers and things like that. But I would say one thing to definitely highlight is that the professors here are so understanding and a lot of times very, very flexible. And that's also the benefit of going to a small schools like the Claremont colleges, is that because professors know you and a lot of times they know what you're going through or the situation, or like, you know, if you're going for a sporting event or you're away for a Model UN conference, they understand that and they're more than willing to kind of be flexible for you. Last year, intro psych, I did not submit my lab report for 2 weeks after the deadline. And my professor did not dock off any marks. All I had to do was just like communicate with her and let her know my situation. This year, even, you know, I tell professors like, I'm going away for a conference. Realistically, I will not have time to work on it. And even if I did, like, I would just be so busy and out of it that it's not getting in. And like, professors are more than willing. So that's okay. Like, you know, get it to me when you can, hopefully by the end of the week. Also, like, I've had Arabic exams where I haven't had time to study during my conferences, and then I come back and I fail them. I have failed 2 Arabic exams. He lets me retake them each time. Professors really are willing and wanting to see you succeed. And a lot of times it just really takes you taking the initiative to, like, you know, communicate your circumstances, communicate what's going on, and work with them to kind of overcome it. But workload for me, at least, very manageable.
Awesome. So I'm just being conscious of time. I know that there are many questions coming through, and thank you to the admissions staff answering them as we go along. So I just want to end on kind of a more positive note for each of our 5 panelists to answer. Since these are admitted students, some of which have enrolled and are already going to be your future classmates, or others that are still deciding and kind of figuring out potentially between other Claremont schools or other schools in addition, but kind of bringing yourself back to why you chose the school that you're attending. Do you mind kind of going through in bounding order, explaining your thought process on why you ended up choosing your school? Angel, start us off.
Great. So ready for my little tour guide spiel. A few main reasons. The first one, the community. This is always the one I revert back to. The academic community, the like student community, the like everything about the 5 C's for me in terms of community has like really spoken to me. I found an amazing academic community with my professors, my students, my peers. It really has inspired me to learn, be curious about things, and also to want to like learn more. With like these students, like my friends, like the network here is like incredible. As soon as you come onto campus, like you feel very welcomed. As an international student, when I came to campus, I didn't know anyone here. I was like, oh my God, I'm away from home. Like, I don't know where, like my left and my right, like, oh my God. And as soon as I saw someone, it was like everyone, I think Eleanor was saying this earlier, like everyone was just the kindest person ever. And it was just, everyone is so sweet. And, you know, people really like, you'll just be walking and they'll just compliment you on your outfit, you know, and they'll be like, oh my God, I love your fit. And like, you know, that they kind of mean it because they don't have to say any of that, you know? And students will like go out of their way to like help you. Today, I fell off my scooter scraped my knee, went to SHS. It was pretty bad. I was crying on the street. It was a rough day today. But this girl, like out of nowhere, she just came up and she was like, "Are you okay?" She like sat with me on the street there for like a good like 10 minutes, just like talking to me, consoling me, and like walked me to SHS. Even the nurses there, we were like having a blast talking about it. I just like I feel very supported where I am, and I think that's like the number one reason why I love this community, love this place, and I'm so glad I chose it. And of course, I love the fact that it's a small institution, but you get the resources of a larger institution and all that.
Thank you, Angel. Sorry you fell off your scooter, but glad the community came through today. Next up, Eleanor, Scripps. Do you want to talk about why you ended up choosing Scripps?
With delight. Yes. So here's my tour guide story. All right. So when I was your age-ish, I was junior, senior in high school, debating which colleges to go to. I knew two things. I wanted to be in California, and I did not want a women's school. So as I was sort of looking through colleges, as you have probably discovered by this point, when you're looking for a school of the academic rigor you want in the region you want, that does not narrow things down very well. And so as I kind of reached the point that you're at in the process, I was kind of just like vibe checking every school I was looking into, like on the tour, kind of seeing if I could see myself walking around there, if I thought the tour guide was cool or I wanted to be friends with them or wanted to be like them. So I toured Scripps actually on a whim. I was just kind of like in the area touring other California schools. I was like, all right, I'm here, I'll go. I remember walking through the gates of Scripps and being just enchanted. I could see like sunlight dappling through the trees. I could swear there was like pixies in the air. But I was to myself like, these are not the important things, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter that it's pretty. There are bigger and better things. So the Scripps tour continued, and I remember being just like wowed by my tour guide. I thought she was such like a typical Scripps student, I came to find out. She was so poised and eloquent and especially incredibly passionate about the things she was involved in. And the things she was involved in also sounded so cool. And the way she spoke about the wider Scripps and 5C community, just it sounded full of people like her who did really cool random things and really care about those things. And we're excited to collaborate and share those things with new people. And so it was just this environment that I didn't want to leave. And I just, but then I was still like, okay, well, I don't want a women's school. So like, whatever. At the time in high school, I was like the leader of a few different clubs. I was like, women's schools teach you how to lead, and I already know how to do that. So whatever. Cut to my senior year, I joined this random new club that they were trying to put together, and they're like, okay, we need leadership. Who wants to be president? And this guy raises his hand, and they're like, okay, you're the president. And by second two of him being president, he was like delegating tasks, and like, you send this email and you make this poster. And I felt really uncomfortable, even though I'd been like a leader for a long time, like asking people to do a quick favor for me. So I just like do all the work. And in that moment, like seeing that guy do that, I was like, oh my God, like maybe there's this whole other world perspective that like I don't even have. And I think a women's school would teach me that. And so at that point, it was clear just Scripps was the choice. And I allowed myself to like fall in love with it in the way that I already had been. And I was still deciding between a few other schools, and Scripps was the choice. So that's my story.
Thank you, Eleanor. Next up, Ava.
So in my sophomore year of high school, I came on a tour to CMC against my will. We were touring LA colleges, and my mom was like, okay, Claremont McKenna, first stop. And I was like, Claremont, who now? I was like, I've never heard of that school and I don't want to go. And she was like, no, we have to. And I said, okay, I'm going to go, but I'm not going to listen. And what a mistake that would have been, because coming to CMC has really changed my life. After, going on the tour and learning about 4 specific things. Number 1, the Athenaeum, our weekly speaker series, Monday through Thursday. Number 2, our Career Services Center, which I think is unmatched, seriously best of the best. Number 3, leadership focus on responsible change making and educating our community around social responsibility. And number 4, our research institutes and our emphasis, which is really rare, I think, in a lot of liberal arts institutions, on contributing to a greater body of study around a specific topic. So I went home and I decided to apply to CMC. I got an early decision. And then for some reason that year, a lot of my friends who had attended other colleges decided to transfer from other colleges in the US. And I had a great year, but when we came back home, they were like, so Ava, like, are you gonna transfer? And I was like, no, like I could not even think of doing so. And the reason why, and it's gonna sound kind of like a cheesy fast food slogan, but CMC really is small enough to know you, large enough to serve you. Like, I don't think at any other institution in the US could you find this kind of community and this type of support system with these types of resources. And I'm not just talking about the consortium too, like CMC as an individual school has these rich, vast array of resources that are virtually impossible to get anywhere else other than the Claremont colleges. Last but not least, I'm gonna say that, you know, I say to myself a lot of the days that I'm here, like, I'm the luckiest person alive to attend the institution that I'm at right now. Like, CMC has changed my life in so many different ways. It's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to get research fellowships. I've found my passion in life. I've found my calling. I've extended and grown so much personally here. I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. And so I'm going to say, do yourself a favor and apply to CMC so you can change your life too.
Great. Well, I know that just in the interest of time, so it is 5 o'clock, but we still have 2 more. So without rushing, but Diana and then Sydney, do you mind just letting us know why you ended up choosing your schools?
Yeah, of course. I'll give you guys also my tour guide spiel. So when I was looking at colleges, I really had 2 things that I was thinking of, and it was, do I want to be taking finals in a sunny place or taking finals in a snowy place? And the sun won. And then it was, do I want to be struggling at an ugly school or at a pretty school? And pretty won that one too. So that was my college list. That was my college look. I wanted someplace pretty and someplace sunny, which being again in California isn't too hard to find around here. So I started touring places, and what really caught my attention of the 5 C's of Scripps and of MUD was being able to have that broad understanding of everything and being able to be technically inclined while still being engaged socially and still being able to make contributions to society and not having to close yourself off into a niche and being able to engage in everything. I really started to look at the Claremont a little bit more seriously. And then I know at MUD, I'm pretty sure it's the same around all the 5 C's. It really is a community. It's not about competition. It's not about trying to come out on top. It's about meeting together and having this melting pot discussion and seeing how you can really inflict some change. So it just felt so impactful, you know, like Ava said, you know, I'm the luckiest person alive to be at this institution, you know. On a similar tangent, I'm so lucky to be able to make real change and be impactful on a day-to-day basis. So that's why I'm here at the Claremonts.
Thank you, Diana.
Yeah, I'll make this quick without it feeling rushed, but yeah, I chose Pitzer. When I toured as a junior in high school, I just immediately felt at home on campus. Everyone seemed so happy, and it was just such a welcoming and warm environment. And my tour guide actually ended up being my orientation leader, which really just solidified the close-knit and small community that I was really looking for. I really wanted great relationships with my professors. And I think the biggest thing was just having a really passionate community around me, just students who were super open-minded and cared about the same things I did, really passionate about social justice and environmental sustainability, and really just wanting to be change makers in the world. So yeah.
Thank you, Sydney. And thank you all of our panelists. I know we weren't able to get to all their questions, but as mentioned in the chat, highly recommend if you have any more specific questions to connect with the particular admissions officers, admission offices, and we'll be happy to connect with any of these students, current students, or answer any questions that you might have. We look forward to potentially seeing some of you in person for any of our admitted student days that are happening throughout April. But if not, definitely feel free to not wait till May 1st to make that decision. It's only going to add more stress for you. So if you have questions, let us know. Congratulations again, and thank you so much. Have a good evening or morning.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.